weeks into the season, a lot of Detroit Red Wings fans are already taking victory laps, but I still don't quite believe in them, and I'm going to explain why in our Week 2 NHL tier list. And I'm going to kick things off at the bottom by doing something a little different. I'm going to give my bottom 5 teams in the NHL, starting with the team I think is the worst right now, the San Jose Sharks. Unquestionably the only winless team still in the National Hockey League, 0-4-2, with the fewest goals in the NHL this year. Macklin Celebrini is doing his part. He's a win-a-game player, getting some production from vets like Dmitry Orlov and Jeff Skinner, but the rest of the young guys, your Will Smiths, your Michael Mises, just either haven't produced or haven't been put in the position to produce. And as a result, the Sharks are the worst team in the NHL through 2 weeks. Second worst, we have the Calgary Flames, a team that I was pretty high on going into this season. I thought that they could make some noise, maybe be a playoff team. After winning their first game of the season, they are now on a 6-game losing streak. The lowest scoring team in the NHL, Nazem Kadri, is the team's point leader with 4 in 7 games. Just not good enough, and it has to fall on some of their young guys that they thought were going to carry more of the load this year. Connor Zary, only 1.7 games. Matt Coronado, 3 in 7 games. So you have veterans like Jonathan Huberdeau, Joel Farabee, and Morgan Frost. Between them, a combined 5 points in 7 games. Calgary right now just looks like absolute dog water. The third worst team in the NHL through the first 2 weeks of the season, though they are nowhere near the bottom of the standings, is the Columbus Blue Jackets. This is a team that's just gotten bailed out by goaltending through the first few weeks of the season. Jet Greaves has been outstanding, and if he keeps this up, Columbus has a fighting shot. But they are the 4th worst team in the NHL in terms of expected goal ratio. Jet Greaves has the 3rd highest goals saved above expected among all goaltenders so far this year. If you believe that Jet Greaves is one of the top 5 goaltenders in the NHL and will be for the rest of the year, hats off to you. But I'm not willing to buy into that, and Columbus, I think, is due for a fall off pretty soon. And it's for a similar reason that I have the Buffalo Sabres as the 4th worst team in the NHL so far. And 5th worst expected goal ratio among all teams in the NHL. Career backup Alex Lyon came out of nowhere and has the 7th highest goal saved above expected through the first 2 weeks of the year. Do you really expect him to be able to keep up this torrid pace, Sabres fans? Because if he doesn't, I have a feeling that it's going to be very bad for you. Now, there's one more team in the bad but not deplorable tier that's actually not the 5th worst in the NHL. I think the Islanders, even though that they are also at 500, are still not really a very good team. As Matthew Schaefer has been very impressive, but the rest of the team is still pretty mediocre. They still need to rebuild. 5th worst team in the NHL is actually the first team in the are you okay tier, which is the Los Angeles Kings. Unlike a lot of people, I didn't think the Kings were going to make the playoffs this year, but holy shit, I didn't think it would be this bad 2 weeks into the season. Of course, swapping Jordan Spence and Vlad Gavrikov for Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin has aged like milk in the Sahara Desert. And this team is one of the worst in terms of expected goal ratio, and Darcy Kemper just hasn't been good enough to bail them out, which is why they're at the bottom of the standings. I still do believe in their talent overall, not to the extent that I'd be banking on them pulling out of this tailspin to make a miracle run to the playoff. And rounding out that Are You Okay tier are 2 teams that I had higher expectations for, both in the Atlantic Division. Senators and the Bruins. Bruins, maybe I got a little bit overzealous from their performance in week 1, but man, I thought that the Senators were going to be so much better than this. To a certain extent, I was right, because at 5v5, the Senators are one of the 5 best teams in the NHL in terms of expected goal ratio. What's been holding them back is their special teams. Power play has been laughably bad at under 60%. Goaltending, as Linus Ullmark is the 2nd worst goaltender in the NHL in terms of goals saved above expected this year, and his backup is 3rd worst despite only playing 1 game. Basically, the Senators just need to figure out how to get a goalie who can make a stop and kill a penalty, and they'll be good. Up, we have the meh teams, including the Philadelphia Flyers, Chicago Blackhawks, Nashville Predators, and Anaheim Ducks. I know people are getting over their skis, thinking that the Chicago Blackhawks are suddenly good, but I'm not really convinced. Their 5v5 expected goal ratio is bottom 10. They are getting bailed out by great goaltending from Spencer Knight, and while I think he's a little bit more likely to be able to maintain a high level of play than goalies like Alex Lyon, Jet Greaves, I still don't know if I can believe in the Blackhawks quite yet. Here we have the teams that are kind of risky, including the Blues, Canucks, Maple Leafs, Wild, and Mammoth. These are teams that are doing okay so far. Some of them I had a bit higher of belief in than others, looking at you, Mammoth, and Maple Leafs. Mostly this is where I thought that they would be. They're all over or at 500, and I think that they're going to be kind of frisky for the rest of the way. Those teams, we have 2 that I am still not quite convinced are very good in the Detroit Red Wings and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Both of these teams are top 10 in points so far. The Red Wings are obviously red hot so far this year, but for both of them, I didn't think that they would be that good going into the season, and I'm not quite convinced that I was wrong. In particular, when it comes to the underlying analytics for the Red Wings, they're middle of the pack in expected goal ratio. Though they're not really winning games off the back of their goaltenders, it's mainly been Cam Talbot carrying the load. Larkin is on a tear that I don't know if he can maintain, but all that being said, they've won 6 in a row. They've beaten some teams that I thought were really good in Tampa, Toronto, the injured Florida Panthers, and Edmonton Oilers. So I can't say that I think that they're a bad team that's masquerading as a good team. Playing this way into November, not necessarily being on this torrid pace, I'm more than happy to put them among the contenders. For the Penguins, it's kind of a different story. They actually have a very high expected goal ratio at 5v5. It's 10th highest in the NHL. The question with the Penguins is, how long are they going to be able to maintain this with one of the older rosters in the NHL? Evgeny Malkin's leading the way in points. Is that sustainable? Justin Brazeau going on an offensive tear to start the year. Can he keep that up? To keep getting big offensive contributions from guys like Anthony Mantha and Ryan Shea? I just don't know. I'll point out that the Penguins have feasted on a pretty light schedule to start the year, beating teams, Ducks, the Sharks, the Flailing Kings, the Canucks, and the Islanders. The only quality team that you could argue that they've beaten this year is the New York Rangers. Themselves flailing around right now below 500. And speaking of the Rangers, they are one of the teams that make up the still in hibernation tier. These are teams that I generally believe in the talent of. They just haven't been playing to the level I expected. Along with the Rangers, this includes the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, Edmonton Oilers, Dallas Stars. And for these teams, it doesn't look very good right now. These teams are at or below 500. Some of them have extenuating circumstances, like as I mentioned, Florida's very injured. You have teams like Tampa, who have the 3rd worst point percentage in the NHL, despite not having any major injuries. But I'm not worried about these teams quite yet because it's only 2 weeks into the year. There's still plenty of time to turn things around, and I was very convinced by their talent going into the year, so much so that I'm not going to write them off after 2 weeks of bad play. But that does leave us with the tier above them, which is the almost contenders tier, which leads us to the not quite elite tier, which includes 2 teams, the Canadiens and Capitals, who are just outside of the top 5 for this week. And I knock on them, both are legitimate contenders. 5th best team through 2 weeks, in my opinion, is the Vegas Golden Knights. I know that they are the 2nd best team in terms of point percentage, and I definitely believe in their talent. But with the Aiden Hill injury, I'm a little bit worried to put them higher than 5th at this point. See how stable they will be if Akira Schmidt has to start a lot of games. In 4th place, the Carolina Hurricanes, the last undefeated team in the NHL. I know that they believe in Freddie Anderson, but I have similar questions about them in terms of goaltending. Being said, the fact that they've managed to dominate so far into this year, even without their big star acquisition, Nikolai Ehlers, scoring, very impressive, and nobody should be taking the Carolina Hurricanes lightly. Those 2 teams fall just outside of the elite tier, which features the top 3 teams. Coming at 3rd, I have the New Jersey Devils. An absolute wagon of a team, very good at 5v5, getting good goaltending, not from Markstrom, but from Jake Allen, which is kind of surprising, but Jake Allen always manages to throw out a random good year now and then. But man, this team is just so different when Jack Hughes is healthy. A top 5 player in the NHL, in my opinion. He's been absolutely unstoppable for the Devils so far this year. Behind the Winnipeg Jets, who are the 2nd place. And it's odd because the Winnipeg Jets are actually the worst team in the league at 5-on-5 expected goal ratio. How are they winning? Well, it's Connor Hellebuyck, of course, the defending MVP, 2-time Vezina Trophy winner. And while you might expect me to knock them down because of that, I think Connor Hellebuyck's just the best goaltender in the NHL. And when you have him and you can count on him, you're getting away with a lot of stuff that you probably shouldn't. I have faith that the Winnipeg Jets are going to be able to stabilize and not be the worst team at 5v5. They've gotten games stolen for them by their goaltender, and he'll continue to do that throughout the year. But for that reason, they're not the number 1 team in the NHL. That is, of course, the Colorado Avalanche. Just completely unstoppable. Marty Necas tearing his way through teams the way he did at the start of last year with Carolina. Of course, Nathan McKinnon is still driving play. Cale Makar is a beast. Devon Taves and him are the best top pairing in the NHL. And Brent Burns has been productive, and they've gotten good goaltending from Wedgwood and Blackwood, which is why, in my opinion, right now, Colorado is the best team in the NHL.